The super short answer is yes, I can, and I did not get seasick. But if you're interested in a little bit of a longer explanation and also to see what I made and what I'm currently knitting on, and also to look at some yarn purchases that I recently made as well, then I hope you stick around and grab a cup of something cozy and settle in for the Down the Forest Path knitting podcast. I have my cup of chocolate chai here, and you can see this is not just any mug, this is a White Star Line replica mug, and this also gives you a clue on why I took that ferry and where I actually went. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So let's dive straight in with my finished ferry knitting object, which is the Vibes scarf by Guri Pedersen. This is a free pattern that's available on Ravelry. You do have to sign up to a newsletter to get it. And this is knit, in my case, in Knitting for Olive, in their merino, and in their soft silk mohair held together. So I knit this on relatively small needles to get a nice tight gauge, because it's for a friend, and I know where she lives can get quite cold in winter and quite windy sometimes, and I thought this would be really nice for her to have. And this is my travel project for my trip to Scotland and Ireland that I did. So this is what I was knitting on the ferry. Let me put it on for you so you can get a look at what it actually looks like worn. So whenever I do something like that, I'm really glad I'm using the front camera of my phone, because otherwise I just wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing here at all. Sorry, this is taking a second longer than I thought. So you can see this is just this cute little neckerchief that you can wrap around like this, and then you can have the ends kind of hanging down, and I think it's super cute. It has this little eyelet lace. The pattern is super simple, like you can probably actually work out the pattern by just looking at a picture of it, but it's really nicely written. It was clear to follow. It also had a chart if you prefer working with a chart, and yeah, it makes this cute little thing, and it would be super size adaptable. So if you want to make a smaller one or a huge one, whatever, then it would be quite simple to just keep going with it. Yeah, so this is how you could wear it. You could also wear it a little bit in a, like, I feel like it might look a little bit Girl Scouty on me, but let's give it a try. You could just wear it like this and then cross it over in the front and make it into a nice little knot here. Actually, that is quite cute. I was a bit fast on judging it, but yeah, it is quite cute like that. So of course these small scarflets have been super in ever since Petite Knits published her scarf patterns, and there is a ton of scarves with like very different construction methods that yield a similar-ish result. I really liked this one because I felt like it looked quite versatile to wear and quite classy in the photos on Ravelry, and I think the finished object also looks like that. And essentially you start here at the tip and then you just keep increasing every round, and I really like how it came out in the end. I think it came out super nice. I blocked it, so this is also why it looks quite tidy, and I'm going to wrap it up and pack it up and send it to my friend really soon. So this is actually a plain cast on. I cast this on in the plane to Scotland and started knitting on it. I don't know if you knit a lot when you're traveling or going on road trips somewhere, but I always do, because I feel like I can use that time super efficiently to get stuff done on my knitting projects. If you are not so far, but you would like to hear more about like how I pick projects for it, how I make sure that I can like take my needles and stuff like that, then comment below and I might make a video just about that to give you some ideas. But yeah, I cast this on the plane. I got quite a lot done on the plane already, and then we went to a friend's wedding in Scotland, and a few weeks before we were due to go, we kind of figured out like, oh, actually this is super close. It was like Gatehouse of Fleet region. It's super close to Canryan, where the ferry from Scotland to Ireland goes. The ferry goes to Belfast. So we'd both never been to Ireland at all. And I was like, okay, I kind of like, it's a good time to do this. Let's use the opportunity. So in our rent-a-car, we went and then went to Northern Ireland on the ferry, which was super scary because you have to drive the car into the belly of the beast, kind of like it's this huge ferry that has multiple stories and you're just driving down, and it's kind of really cramped. Like we go on the Euro Express, like Eurotunnel train, Eurostar. Is it Eurostar? It's not the Eurostar, but the tunnel that goes through the Eurotunnel, the train. We go on it quite regularly, and that's kind of quite straightforward to drive on it. But this ferry was like, I'm sure there's method to the madness, but it kind of seemed super chaotic from the perspective of someone going on it, because like there were cars parked everywhere in different angles to kind of like try and cram as many cars in as possible. There were lorries, car alarms going off, everything, and it was super crowded. The staircase was so crowded as well. And then we arrived on the actual ferry deck, and by the time we did, all of the seats had been taken up. They were close to the windows, so basically you had the choice of sitting inside, where it kind of was like a little bit like a 90s hotel lobby, or to make your way outside, where no one wanted to go because it was really cold and really windy and also raining. But of course that's what I had to do, because I just didn't want to miss out on the crossing to Northern Ireland, because I love just seeing all of the landscape and seeing like land appear on the horizon, things like that. So yeah, we spent the entire 2.5 hour ferry ride on deck in the cold, kind of huddled up and like wearing hats, wearing scarves, wearing jackets. And I was knitting, because at some point I got a little bit bored because it was getting dark, so it wasn't really possible to read much or see much. In the beginning you could see like the shoreline, you could see lighthouses. I can see if I have a few videos of that and I'll put them. But then once that was over and it was getting dark, it was really beautiful. You could see the moon on the water, but there wasn't that much else to do, so I just knit for quite a while on my little scarflet, and it kept getting bigger there. And when we then were going through Ireland in the car, I was also knitting a fair bit, but I have to say I put my knitting down quite a lot because the drive was quite scenic and the landscape was so nice that I wanted to be able to look out of the window most of the time. So I didn't get that much done then. But when we went to the Giant's Causeway coast later on, there, like we went on a really long hike to get to Giant's Causeway, and by the time we had arrived there, we were both quite knackered and we needed to sit down a bit. So I was literally sitting on Giant's Causeway, knitting away for a few minutes as well. So this has traveled quite a long while already. I think I heard my cat's, I'm not gonna bring him in, but I want to check because that sounded a bit suspicious. There he is. Let's see if he stays and doesn't try to destroy my yarn. So yeah, I knit on it in Giant's Causeway, I knit on it on the ferry ride and on the ferry ride back. And I also knit on it when we were back in Scotland and we're having an English afternoon tea, and we had all of these cakes and sandwiches. It was glorious, and I had a book and was knitting on it, and it was just so wonderful. It's one of my favorite vacation memories, I think. So that's the Vibe scarf, and I will wrap it up and send it to my friend in the next few days, and she doesn't know anything about that, so it's going to be a nice surprise for her, I think. I hope. I think it's going to suit her beautifully. She has such a like creamy complexion with freckles. I think it's going to look just gorgeous on her. So let's go over to the next finished object, which is a gift that was given to me by my little sister, Anne. So Anne was cat sitting while we were out and about, and when I came home, I just found this on one of the desks with a little note saying for Nicola. So this is so cute, and it's gonna be perfect for hiking. This is a little headband that she made for me, and this is also made from like fingering weight yarn held with soft silk mohair, and it's just so nice. It has this twist in front, so it's not too bulky on your forehead where like it would make you sweaty if you're out and about, but it's really nice and wide over the ears, so it's just perfect for when you want the top of your head to kind of stay airy and your forehead also to stay kind of like not too hot. My cat's found a toy. I hope he's not making too much noise. Pippin. I think it's fine, but if it keeps going on, I'll put him out so it doesn't keep interrupting. But yeah, this is just the cutest little thing, and oh god, yeah, no, he's about to throw over a huge glass thing, so give me a second. So yeah, this was the cutest little surprise. I really love the twist in the front, and I can also see that she was practicing doing a bit of lace work, because this has a cute little bit of eyelet lace on the side. Look at this. And I know that she's practicing lace work because we're going to knit a shawl together, a knit along, and that's the thing I can talk about next, because that kind of fits in here with that cute little eyelet lace. So I have actually started this year's Halloween mystery knit along by Boo Knits. It's going to be a shawl, and it's going to use around 600 meters of yarn, bit more maybe, and be a crescent shaped shawl. And because this is a mystery knit along, some of you might want to do it but not see what it's going to look like, so I'm going to put timestamps below in case you want to skip this for spoilers. And this is fair warning that I'm going to show you my very, very mild spoiler, because I've just barely begun this shawl in a second. So as I said, it's a new cast on, so there's not too much to show yet. It's in this adorable little bag that my mom gave me that I'm going to be using as a project bag, because let's face it, in a household with cats, every bag that has a zipper is an automatic project bag, because it just keeps stuff safe. So I am knitting this in 100% alpaca yarn from Echt Michel. This is part of a gradient. The other parts of the gradient are right here. And I think the way they were lying down there, you couldn't actually see the different colors, but I hope you can hear. So it's this dark violet gradient that goes from like this kind of port wine color into an almost black. And I think that's gorgeous for a Halloween themed shawl. Alpaca is of course a bit more springy than what I usually work with for shawls, so that takes a little bit of adjusting, but I think it looks really cute so far. So here we have it. You can already see the little crescent, and you can see that it's a garter stitch shawl that is kind of broken up by these twisted stitch ridges. So this is the first clue of the shawl, and you're supposed to work this chart 7 times. I'm currently on the 2nd time going through it, I think. I have made notes on my actual pattern page, because otherwise I'm hopeless. I just lose track completely. But even though I don't know it from the top of my head, fortunately the paper remembers. So this is the beginning of that shawl. I'm going to hold it up closer so you can get a better look. And I hope next time we see each other, it's going to be much bigger already, and I will have made it to the 2nd or even the 3rd clue. This shawl is going to have beads in it, and I was quite lucky in that the first chart did not already have beads in it. So I have a little bit of time to knit this up further and then decide which beads I think are going to go best with it. I have a few in mind. Don't know if I should go with a like dark red or with a silver, that might also be nice, or a black for the like true Halloween vibe. If you have any strong opinions, then please let me know in the comments. I am very curious to hear a consensus. I might also just put a poll on Instagram again because that was super helpful the last time I did it. But yeah, this is how that's going. I also, in the line of this, wanted to briefly talk about a shawl that I only very briefly mentioned on this podcast before, because this was a Christmas present for my mom. And last Christmas I was like, no, it was the Christmas before. Anyway, before Christmas I always make a ton of stuff and then I get super tight on time, and in the end I finish all of these things and then I don't have time to properly film them. But I recently visited my mom, and so I was able to just steal the scarf for about like 10-15 minutes to take a few better videos of it, and I'm going to put a little bit here now. So this is another scarf or another shawl by Brunette's, and this is the Cloud Illusions shawl. It uses between 400 and I think 800 meters of fingering weight yarn, and it's very easy to adapt for size. And I really liked knitting this. I was like, I think the pattern pictures are a little bit difficult to interpret for this particular shawl in how the finished project looks like, but I'm really glad I clicked through the projects and saw like how the lace would come out, because it's so pretty. It does really look like clouds a little bit, and I really enjoyed knitting this one. I think it has a beautiful shape. I knit this in the dye for yarn merino silk yak fingering weight yarn, and I think the fingering weight gives it a really nice weight and a really nice drape, so it's also suitable for colder weather. It's so soft and I really like this mahogany color. It suits my mom really, really beautifully. And yeah, I just wanted to show you this because now I have this mini cast on for the Brunette's shawl, and it's kind of hard to see where this might like end up, and I feel like the Cloud Illusions is kind of a little bit like, it's going to look way different because the lace looks very different every single time, but I thought it might give you like a little bit of an idea what kind of thing you can expect from this project and where it's going to go. And yeah, maybe you will also get into shawl knitting because it is extremely fun. I just find it so nice to do. There is barely anything that I find that fun to knit. You don't have to deal with gauge issues. The only thing you have to make sure is that your yarn doesn't run out, and you just like work on lace. And everyone thinks lace is really, really complicated, but if it comes down to it, it's just yarn overs and knit togethers and following a pattern. And I mean, for me it's notoriously hard to keep track of stitches because I get too distracted by other things, and then I just find it really, really difficult. But that's why I just use stitch markers between each repeat. Then I just have to literally count to 12, and if I make a mistake I just count back. So yeah, like, I know lots of people don't use stitch markers between the repeats, but for me that's just a lifesaver, and it makes it so much easier to knit lace. So I hope that you will give it a try as well, because really it's not as difficult as it looks, and neither is color work. I should maybe also really briefly talk about what I'm wearing today. This is a sweater pattern by Tinker Knits. This is from the Strange Brew, where you kind of can make your own colorwork sweater based on different kind of modules that she has put together. So you combine different colorwork motifs and then you make your own. In my case, I actually stole the yoke that she has in there. This is called Compass, and there was a picture of it and as an example, so I just went with that one, and I think it's super, super pretty. I'm really happy with how it came out. This is made in Drops merino yarn, and it has not failed me. Like, it's holding up really well, and I've put it through the washer multiple times. and I'm still really happy with this, even though this was one of my first, very first sweaters. I think this is still a nice one, and it also looks nice with this little scarflet, so I might have to make myself something in a similar colorway. Alright, let's head over to my second work in progress, and that one is also really coming along. Here we have it. This is the step-by-step sweater pattern by Florence Miller, and I talked about this last week, but since we talked about it, I have actually finished the ribbing, so the body is done. This is going to be a super cropped version because I did not buy that much yarn when I was in Scotland. I can be a little bit scroogey with buying sweater quantities, and then I often end up regretting it, but the idea for this was always to make a very cropped sweater that basically ends in my natural waist, and I'm quite short, so that's the reasoning for that. Oh my god, sorry, my hair's being crazy. And then put really full length sleeves on it, so I had to have enough yarn over for making those. And as you can see, I am on sleeve 1, and after that there's just a second sleeve to go, but then I have more plans with the sweater, and I hope I can tell you about that next week, because that would be wonderful. And I'm using the Isle of Wool yarn for this, or World of Wool Isle yarn. This is Shetland and Blue-Faced Leicester Aran weight yarn, and this is in the color Brewery. So I'm really happy with this yarn. I've tried the sweater on multiple times and it's not too scratchy, even though it's 100% wool and it's non-superwash. I'm really looking forward to finishing this, getting it done. It's been really fun to knit, and I cannot praise this pattern enough. It's so clear, and it really allows you also kind of like, it's a beginner pattern. It's quite hand-holdy, but the positive about that is that once you've kind of knit a few sweaters, you look at this and you see a lot of scope for putting customizations on it, and that was what I did here. So the original sweater is not that cropped at all. I just made mine way shorter, and I also gathered it quite a bit so it would sit nicely in the waist, and then I used tiny needles on the ribbing. You can't see it, but like this ribbing, an Aran weight yarn, is actually knit with strength 3mm needles. I don't know what it is in US sizes, but it's fairly small. It's what I would use for like fingering weight help with mohair or something like that. Definitely not Aran. So it cinches quite nicely in the waist, and I'm really looking forward to doing what I am planning on doing with it for hopefully my next video, so stay tuned and follow along for that. Now this project I have to keep safe from my cats because it's in a non-zip bag, because I just don't have zipper bags that are that big at the moment. My only other really big one is taken up by another sweater project that's been a UFO for like 3 years, so maybe I should just bite the bullet on that one and give up on it, but I'm not really ready to do that. So this one, the sweater I just showed you, is in this bag. And from that you can also guess where I also went when I was in Belfast, because Matt took me to the Titanic Museum. I have been obsessed with the Titanic ever since I was a little girl. My parents had this cool picture book with like stories from the Titanic, pictures, paintings, everything, and I just knew everything about it. I just kept reading that, and dinosaurs, like both were kind of huge obsessions for me. So when I said, oh Matt, we could go with the ferry to Belfast, he was like, oh, do you know what's in Belfast? The Titanic Museum. And from there it was just clear we had to go, and we did make it. It was really cool. I loved this museum. It was really nice because the Titanic was built in Belfast. There's quite a lot of like info on that, on the construction part of it, which might not be interesting to some of you, but maybe to others. So if you are into that, then that's great. I think that's probably the most comprehensive museum you will ever find on the engineering of the Titanic. And also, it just had like a ride that you could take. I think it's usually quite crowded, but because we went on a weekday outside of the holidays, we barely had to queue, and then we could go in and it would like drive you around like a little tiny coaster and give you more info on the building of it, which was really nice. The museum was super nicely structured, and the second part had a lot of info on how like the ship was like interiorly designed. Do you say that? Designed on the interior, about the things that you could find in there, the carpets, everything. So it was really interesting. And then the third part was about the sinking, the people on board, and it was so gorgeous. The museum kind of finished with an art installation. I would describe it as an art installation where there is a model of the Titanic that's lit up, and then there's a film running in the background on a 360-degree projection, and it kind of goes from like people having dreams about like starting fresh in the US and why they're on there, then the ship being built and things like that, and goes over into the sinking. And it was so emotional, it actually made me cry. And this is also where the museum has quite a lot of interesting artifacts that were found floating after the sinking, like a deck chair, or this very famous artifact, which is a violin that was played by a member of the Titanic's orchestra, and he unfortunately drowned in the sinking, and then was found still holding his violin case that had been given to him, the violin, by his fiancée, which was just really sad as well. It's just, I don't know. But for a fan of the whole like history of the Titanic, this was so great. I also bought a few like reproduction artifacts, things like that. So they had these like packs of stuff you could get where it was like reproductions of letters and posters, telegrams. Let me show you the telegram. So I have a bit of that. I also got a book and a postcard set. And of course, I got my wonderful mug. So that was definitely a trip worthwhile. And yeah, basically now I think you've seen everything that we did in Ireland: the Giant's Causeway, Titanic Museum, driving along the coast. So we were only there for a good 2 days, but for that amount of time, I think we got quite a lot done there. And now I would quickly like to talk to you about some tiny yarn acquisitions I made, even though I probably should have been a little bit on a buying hiatus, but you know, stuff happens. Specifically, this happened because I was visiting my parents, as I said, and I took one of my little brothers and my husband to a local museum to have a look at, basically it is a really huge museum that has various different things, but it was a little bit of a ruse because I wanted to definitely have a closer up look at the historical garments that they had, and specifically the historical knitted garments that they had. And I probably want to talk about that in an upcoming video. But when we were there, I suddenly realized that it was open Sunday. So the thing to know about Germany is that on Sunday, everything's closed apart from restaurants and cafes. You can just forget about buying anything, and petrol stations. But apart from that, nothing's open. Like, no one's working. Everything is like... So it was a Sunday, and usually you can't get anything, like no shops open, nothing. But when we were there, I realized it was open Sunday, which is like 3-4 times a year. They open all of the shops on Sundays because it kind of gets people to come out and have a look around. And there is this local wool store called Handarbeiten Mueller, I think. I'll list it below in any case. But they have a lot of interesting yarns, and I rarely ever get to go because their opening hours are often not compatible with when I'm there. But this time the stars aligned, and I got a little bit of yarn to take back. First of all, I got this natural sheep yarn from Saarling, Schafwolle Natur, and this is 100% German wool, and it is 100 gram, and it is 185 meters for 100 gram. So it's quite squishy and not very scratchy, and I'm very excited about knitting with it. I think this is probably going to be hand warmers as well, because I want to knit quite a few of hand warmers this autumn and winter. I know I keep talking about it and I'm not making them, but I will. So that's that, and that's kind of already spoken for. And then, my friends, this yarn store is very small, but it has the, oh, I lost the label. It has the biggest selection I've ever seen of Ito yarns. So it had a lot of Ito Shio, which is their 100% wool yarn, and this is so fine. It's basically like sewing thread. It's 40 grams for 480 meters. So it's basically a thin lace weight on its own, a very thin lace weight, because like a normal lace weight is like 800 meters for 100 gram, and this is 480 meters for 40 gram already. So it's this mustard color. It's not really mustard, it's called mustard, but it's a bit more green than normal mustard. It's a bit more, I would say, like peridot, but muted peridot. And I want to hold it double and then knit a shawl out of it, because I just love this color so much. It's so pretty. But yeah, more shawl yarn has been acquired. So I now really need to crack on with stuff and shrink down my stash a little bit, because I cannot buy stuff quicker than I can knit it up, because my stash is at a good level and I do not want it to be super full. Also, I've never had issues with it, knocking on wood, but I know that like having a big yarn stash kind of can be a little bit of a recipe for disaster in regards to pests. So also from that perspective, I would just be heartbroken if there would be moths or something in my stash. So I really need to start using stuff up and not buy anything anymore for a while. So that's the plan for now, and these are my acquisitions. That's basically it for today. If you like this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and also maybe to subscribe, because I keep seeing that people, like, YouTube gives you this kind of data, and I keep seeing that a lot of people who watch the videos also for a long time are not subscribed to the channel. So if you would like to see more of this, then please feel free to do so. I love seeing you here, and yeah, I hope to see you again very soon, and then keep you updated on what my simple sweater here is doing, and I hope it's going to be finished. And I will see you very soon, and I'll leave you with a few more impressions of Ireland. Bye!